Good morning, everybody. Um, I was thinking today, I had a wonderful, wonderful discussion with a young lady last night on anxiety and what we are actually dealing with now. So when I talk about a lot of my stuff, I don't necessarily give you the process for how I became free of a lot of that, or how my story changed. So what essentially happened was that people, places, things, events happened in my life, and they created a response. Okay, there we go. So it created a response. Now, maybe at that point in my life, this particular response kept me safe, in some way, shape, or form, served me at that time, and in likely an unhealthy event. Okay, so I've got a reaction to an event, a person, a place, or a thing. And that reaction starts through, in our unconscious, that starts a pattern, okay? And this pattern gets carried over to more events, to more people, places, or things in our lives. And gradually becomes, so it takes over. It's a negative reaction. It's a negative state of mind. It's a negative mindset. And it's in our unconscious. That's where it lives and breathes. Okay? And it starts reacting to a lot of different things. This is where we get our anxiety. This is where we get our depression. This is where we get a lot of those. Actually, I should step back a minute. It's possibly where we get our depression and anxiety, etc. A lot of people are event-based, reaction-based, similar to myself, but there are some people that experience an actual chemical imbalance in the brain. That doesn't negate what I'm saying, because their illness could change, or their reactions to their illness could change with working with their unconscious or mindset. Okay, so we get these generalized reactions now, and they take over our life because the event is no longer happening. Okay, so I'll give you a fairly traumatic and rather embarrassing event that happened in my life. Now, I did not have a lot of friends around my own age when I was a kid, and I want to say I wasn't well liked, but I'm not sure. I don't know. That was my perception at the time. Okay, so I was in Guides, Brownies, something like that, and a couple of girls invited me over to this one girl's house to play whatever. I don't know, hang out. And I went over, and I remember having to go to the bathroom, and the girl's brother was in the bathroom. And I said, well, okay, I'll go use the upstairs bathroom. And they said, no, you can't go do that. You've got to use the downstairs bathroom. So I waited a bit, and he wasn't coming out. And I said, well, I'll run on home. It's just a little ways down. And they said, oh, no, he's got to be out. And I'm reasonably sure, because of their reaction, that they had told him to go in there and stay in there for a while, because they found this quite funny. I was in pretty severe distress. So I said, okay, well, I got to go home. And they're going, no, no. And okay, well, I got to go upstairs. No, no. Now, at that point, as a kid, I could have just left. I didn't. I thought they were my friends. So I stayed and I tried to hold it and tried to hold it. Eventually, I ended up peeing my pants. Now, if you can imagine, I would have been, I'm thinking 10 to 12. I'm not entirely sure. The two girls laughed their heads off. They figured this was hilarious, absolutely hilarious. The mom came down and said, I think you better go home. I never went back there again. I went home. I cried my eyes out. Okay, one traumatic event. Now, if we take that traumatic event and we go, what's the chances of that ever happening again? Probably slim to nil. In other words, it didn't, that reaction, that feeling didn't have to be carried over to any more of my life. It was over, it was done with. But what happens is the feelings that were there. So the anxiety, the panic, the feelings in my body, the mind. I mean, your mind starts going like this. I go, I got to go to the bathroom. Where am I going to go? I can go upstairs. I got to go home. 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 Home becomes safety for you. Also, it ramps up all that anxiety, all that fear. That happens a lot in going forward from that event. That happened a lot. And it limited where I could go. And to some degree, it still does. I haven't actually dealt a whole lot with that story. In fact, I just remembered it last night. So thank you very much to the young woman who brought it to my attention. Now I can work on it. But this brought it forward. How does it affect my life? Well, I have to know where there's going to be washrooms. Now, if you think about that, I like going for long walks, but I have to know that the route has washrooms along it. I'd love to be able to travel, but I've got to know there's washrooms. If I'm flying, there are 100 seats in the plane minimum, and if you're lucky, 2 washrooms. So think about some of these things and how they would create more anxiety. It may seem like, it may seem quite silly to people to have this type of anxiety, but what I'm using it for is to demonstrate how these things affect our lives. You might not have anxiety like I do, and you probably don't. But you've got it in some form in your life. If you look at your life and where your fear, your anxiety, your panic, your that type of feeling comes up, chances are that it is not real. Now here's the thing. Whether or not I have to go to the washroom, that isn't real. My mind, my body, my reaction, that whole reaction is based, not entirely, somewhat, on an incident that happened when I was 10 or 12. I'm now 54. So for the past 40 years, I've been driven by an event. Now, I want to also say that isn't conclusive. I mean, there could have been other multiple events. Once we start pointing at something and going, "Oh, look, I've got the answer, and this is why it all happened." We stop looking, and we start thinking, "Oh, well, that story's solved. That story's nullified or whatever." And chances are no, because that's not the way our unconscious works. But I'll get into that at another time. Anyways, what I want to point out is this is what we're dealing with. When we talk about anxiety, when we talk about panic, when we talk about depression, when we talk about suicide, likely the events, people, places, and things are not happening now. This is our perception. This is our reactions saying, "Oh, I remember this." No. We're expecting the same thing to happen. But this is a new day. This is totally unrelated to back there. So if you want more information, if you want to talk to me about this, message me. Put something below the board. And let's start a discussion. The interesting thing, none of this stuff can hurt me anymore. I can tell you my whole story. None of it can hurt me because it's not me. That happened way back then. It's not me, and it's not going to be me anymore. So, like I said, message me, something under the board. I'm going to be setting up a call, an online video chat for September. And so I'm just working through this, and it's going to be limited lines coming in. I think I can fit in about 10 lines. So if you'd like to talk more, ask questions in person, it'll be about an hour, and sometime in September. I'll be setting that up and giving you more information soon. Also, if you are looking for more information on how to stop the various patterns, yeah, we're going to be talking about that too. So, hugs and love, everybody. Have a great day, and think about it. Think about it. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.